the fact that you can work with your dad and you guys can get along and work together, like that's a big thing. Like you don't see that very often nowadays, where father and son work together. You know, they pound shit out and fucking get this done, that done, the next thing, and whatever, and they're not scrapping on site, or you know what I mean. Like it's just, we have a good time and we shoot the
Yeah.
shit, and and we build shit together, and it's like then they're like essentially like kind of feel like I'm hiring a father-son team, and that's how I used to get a lot of jobs too, because a lot of people wouldn't work with their dad, or whatever. So I felt like sometimes I would
Yeah.
get the advantage of everybody else because of that.
Hey, thank you everyone for tuning in. Today is episode number 6, and we finally have a name for this freaking podcast. We've been bouncing back and forth between different ideas, but the name for this podcast is going to be called Onsite, and we have a special guest today, Jory, who is with Flawless Renovations. He is one of the contractors inside of the community. Super excited to have him on. Him and I have been working very closely together for the past couple of months, specifically with his construction company, just trying to get things going in the right direction. And so, as the term of the podcast is called On-Site, we are going to be talking about some of the things that Jory's working on, some of the growth that he's experienced by working with us in the community, and just what this whole experience has been like with him. Unique part is Jory's also deaf. And so you're probably wondering, well, how is he going to hear everything? Jory makes humor about his hearing. I don't, but he does. And so that's up to him for him to do that. But Jory has a fancy earpiece in his ear, and he's not going to pull it out this time because he just pulled it out a few minutes ago and then hung up the phone, or hung up on the call here. So I'm going to pass this over to Jory and let him introduce himself, who he is, where he's from, what his company's about, and then we'll dive into some of the projects that he's currently working on. Thanks for doing this, Jory, today. Appreciate you. And let's tell everybody a little bit about Jory.
Hey everyone, I'm Jory. I own Flawless Renovations. Been in business now for 6 years, and working with Brandon's been a pleasure.
Nice, nice. What kind of so you're set up in Winnipeg, correct?
Yeah,
Okay, and how long have you lived in Winnipeg for?
my entire life.
Your entire life. And you've talked a little bit about kind of going out west. Are those still things that are on the table?
Yep, I would like to be either Alberta or BC at some point. So
Why do you want to go to Alberta or BC? What's the reasoning behind it?
there's more opportunities and more things to see and do.
Right, right, right. Okay, cool. Yeah, it is. I've driven through Winnipeg a few times. Had some car problems because of the roads are so freaking shitty. I think Winnipeg actually has the worst freaking roads in Canada, next to a few other places, but literally the worst fucking roads.
I always say you're off-roading in the middle of the city, and you're not even in the country off-roading. But
No, yeah, it's crazy, man. It's so crazy. Cool. So you're thinking about Alberta, BC. I'm heading to Alberta as well. So if you end up going that way, at least you'll get to see my pretty face there more frequently than you already do. But for those of you that are wondering, I've been coaching Jory for a couple months now within the Elite Builder Society, and Jory has secured a couple cool projects. And the other day, him and I were chatting about some of the extras that are required because he opened up the walls and found some other things. But he's working on a cabin. How far outside of Winnipeg is the cabin?
about 107 kilometers in Victoria Beach.
Okay. And you want to tell us a little bit about that project? Like, your client's from Edmonton, I think. They hired you, so you're working kind of virtually as a contractor for them. Have you ever met this customer?
Yeah, I met them last year when I went and looked at the project and everything like that. They were out for a few weeks and called me and asked me to come down and take a look. So I did that, got numbers and everything put together, and then they accepted the quote. And then as soon as we started opening up walls and ceilings and engineers coming in and revamping the whole project, that's when it became a bit more money. But they were okay with it, and we're continuing on. So.
Cool. So tell us about the project. What is it? It's a
It's
1,000 square foot cabin on the water. Tell us about it.
about 750 square feet, lakefront cottage. It had old windows that fold up. The walls are all rotted. There's no headers in the walls. The ceiling or the roof rafters are sagging. So now we have to rebuild it. Put 2x6 rafters in, ridge board, bird's mouth, all that stuff. essentially reshoot everything, reshingle it, all new soffit to fascia, and all the fun stuff. So it's
Is
gonna
it
be
a
a
is it a 4 season? Is it a 4 season cabin?
three.
3 seasons. So they're putting all
Yeah,
this money into a 3 season cabin. And didn't you have to re-level this thing as well?
yeah.
That's crazy. So
At the window wall, I call it, which is the lakefront side, that was down about 3 inches, and you could feel it when you're walking. And then the floors were all splitting everywhere, and as soon as I brought it all back up, it's all gone back together and everything like that too. So
you leveled the cabin.
yeah,
Crazy, and everything came back together. As you're talking about this project, it never crossed my mind that the client should probably just rip it down and build a new one. Because basically we're ripping the whole thing apart and kind of,
yeah.
yeah.
The reason why they don't want to rebuild, like they were talking about at one point, but it's because the lady, dad owned it, and then her grandpa owned it, and built it in the 50s. So she's like more sentimental than it is anything else. So they want me to keep the original contract, which would be like rebuilding the wall and then putting up all the old plywood in there from the 1950s with the certain stain and stuff like that they can't buy this day and age. So essentially, you got to rebuild everything, put the plywood back in, and make it all the same. So
What a cool experience. So there's this old little rickety old cabin,
yeah,
just outside of Winnipeg. The family must have inherited the cabin,
I
um,
think so.
and they live in Edmonton.
Yeah,
Travel back to enjoy this memory that they probably had. This lady, it was the wife's grandpa's cabin.
yeah,
Yeah, so they probably have just incredible memories of this space. I didn't know this part about the story. But every project has a unique backstory, and what's really cool about like this job, like even what we're talking about, is that the client has an emotional connection to the project.
yeah.
It's not just like some investment that they have to kind of deal with the collateral of buying an old shitty cabin. It's a family heirloom, and the pressure on you to put this thing back together now,
Mm-hmm.
after I know this, is huge, man. Because like if they have kids and they get to experience this little, this memory that they had with their family, you're giving them the ability to kind of further that experience with their family now as they come back. They probably will never sell this place. It sounds like, based on the work that they're doing, like you're reinforcing the entire roof. That was one of the things that just kind of came up,
Yeah.
and fixing some of the headers and changing all the windows. What a great experience. Is there anything like specifically about that job that you've noticed that maybe because grandpa probably worked on it, probably built it. Is there any cool
Mm-hmm.
things that you came across, that he's maybe done that weren't the greatest back in the day? You said you had to level it. Why did you have to level it? Was it falling apart, or like what happened there?
Well, it gets on level, like the beam was like a wave. Like the two, three beams that we had to readjust were essentially like down in the middle, 2 inches, and then up 3 inches, and then you know what I mean. So it's kind of like a wave. And then the walls, being the way they were built, weren't done properly. Like no headers, and they could putting in cross pieces, and then pushing down on the windows in the middle and stuff like
Mm,
that. So it just, back in the 1950s, they didn't really have headers, and if they did, it wasn't like it is today. You know what I mean? But in
right.
that case, there was no header whatsoever, and then the window is caving outwards, not inwards. So that was another cool scenario. It's like, oh, well, this can be a fun little project, and then got to rip out all the cedar siding, and try and save it so I can put it back up after, and try and keep them
Yeah, because
happy
she
with that
doesn't.
as well.
She's not trying to upgrade it to make it look pretty. She wants to keep it authentic, which I
Yeah,
think is awesome.
exactly. Yeah, and
Um,
essentially keep it in 1950s the whole way through, and don't change anything, like no plywood, no siding, no nothing like that. She wants to keep it all, and then eventually possibly paint it, and then be good to go. So
Wow, that's cool, man. Oh, I love it. That's a great story. You have a bunch of other things going on. You got a bunch of decks, a bunch of other quotes going on. What are some other projects that you got coming up, or what's one of the coolest things that you've done that you think is like, worth talking about? I know we've been really focused, you and I, on just getting jobs, which has been working.
mhm.
But outside of that, like you've been in the industry for, long enough to have experienced some good and bad things. What are some memories about some projects that you had on site that you want to share with us today?
Memory, I guess. I'm not sure. I just take every project as if they were my own. You know what I mean? So,
You just
other
work day
than
to day, eh?
yeah, except
Day to day.
maybe
Nothing
again.
crazy. No crazy jobs that have stood out over the past couple of years, like some crazy shit that you saw that, you maybe had to walk away some memories about some projects. Nothing like that.
Not really. No, I just do so many of them, and once they're done, and
You just
so
show up and do the work. Well, that's awesome, man. Well, I
yeah,
love working with you. It's a great experience, and you know, I didn't actually know that you were deaf until you kind of told me later on after you kind of opted into the program and into the community, and then we started diving into that. Actually, no, sorry, I lie. In the DMs, I remember you started making jokes about your deaf, that you were
yeah,
deaf, and I was like,
yeah,
wow. I was like, I just couldn't, I didn't know how to respond because like I'm a pretty respectful dude. I don't like to like kind of impede on anything like that, but you were all about it, and that's fine. That's great. That's your humor. That's a good tool, but there obviously is challenges. What is your hearing like? You can hear us right now because you've got an earpiece that you're not going to touch because it's going to hang up the call.
yeah.
So what is your like if you didn't have the earpiece in, how well could you hear?
Without my hearing aids, I have about 35 and 40% hearing left in both ears. So essentially, based on a scale of 100. So when you base your hearing on a scale of 100, if you have zero, that means you have no hearing loss. If you have 65 and 60%, like I do, that means I have 65 and 60% hearing loss in both ears. So essentially, I'd only have about 35 to 40% left in both ears. So
And
they say after years, it might get worse, and it probably won't get better.
so it's just progressively getting worse for you.
Yeah, I mean, it could take 30 years before I lose more hearing, or
Hmm.
it could be tomorrow. You know what I mean? It all depends how I
Yeah.
take care of them, I guess.
Right.
So,
Yeah. The ear protection, I'm sure, is a big factor for you on that.
well,
Well,
my
I mean,
problem is I
oh,
can't really use protection because of the hearing aids. When I put earmuffs on, they just have the background squealing noise, right? And then that's no good. And then trying to take out the hearing aids and put on earmuffs is like, then I can't hear nothing. So, is it better? Is it not? I don't know. Like,
right.
can
Well, I
you,
mean, in construction, it's risky. Obviously, if you can't hear, if you can't hear anybody, you can't, hear things that are going on around you. Like the danger is at a higher level. So, I mean, like, has there been any close calls for you? No, it's fine.
no,
You're
no,
good.
not really. No, like I'm always paying attention, I guess you can say. And like they say, like if you were deaf and actually a mute where you couldn't hear nothing, they usually
Mm,
say, like, when they're driving, for example, they're always looking in the mirror, they're always looking around, they're always checking their surroundings, right? Because they can't hear what's coming, or they can't see the siren or hear the sirens behind them, but they can see them. You know what I mean? Just stuff like that. So I'm always, paying attention and looking around me, and trying to make sure hearing everybody when saws are going, stuff like that. But I've had hearing aids my whole life, so it's nothing new to me. I've been wearing hearing aids since I was 2 years old. So for me, it's kind of like I can pick up different noises and sounds and voices and whatever, where a lot of people that just get hearing aids can't do that or have a hard time or whatever. So
right. Well, I mean that raises a different perspective because, like, I mean, I can hear. I think as I'm maybe sometimes selective with my hearing,
yeah,
especially when my kids are around. I try to, I'd love to have earmuffs so I can't hear them.
yeah.
Some days when they're having their little battle, but
I pull in mute
yeah,
mode. I pull out the hearing aids when I don't want to hear anything.
you just pull them. That's great. That's a
Yeah,
good option to have, actually. You
yeah.
just pull the hearing aids out and have 100% not ability to hear. That's awesome.
Or
No,
it's a
but
lot
like,
quieter.
yeah. So when you're driving, though, like, I mean, that's something too. Like, I maybe take that for granted because I'm not like I pay as close attention as possible. But like, if you can't hear those subtle little noises or the horn honks or police sirens or that kind of stuff, you are kind of on edge. Like, you would be kind of on edge the whole time a
Mm.
little bit, and so that has never affected you, like emotionally, mentally, like having that. kind of, not going to call it hindrance, but just that disability, that kind of, area of issue that you're trying to navigate alongside other people? Like, that's never bothered you at all? It's never bugged you, like,
Well, I
is,
mean,
or
like growing up, it's like anything else. You get picked on and stuff like that, but you can learn to grow from it, and you don't let it bother you. And at the end of the day, I joke about it because, like, what am I gonna do? Sit here and cry that I have hearing aids on? Like, no, I'm just gonna
yeah,
sit here and have a good time with it and enjoy it, and like the disability, and don't have to essentially, get mad because I'm deaf. And like, what is that gonna do? You know what I mean?
right. No, and
So.
I've always noticed that about you. They're super positive, and it is unfortunate. I think I hope that you don't have any kids, but that you know of, or but I hope as as society evolves, there's less of that bullying on people with disabilities, because everybody has to grow, everybody has to become something, and you chose to become a contractor. Why? Why did you become a contractor? Like, what led you down this path to land, into construction, into doing renovations, remodels? Was it family? Was it like an uncle? Was it a what got you to here?
Well, my dad's been in the trade for like 40, 50 years, somewhere around there. And I was essentially the only kid in the family that took the construction trade. I've been swinging a hammer since I was 10 years old, type of thing, and working with my dad every day, every weekend since 10 years old. And, I wouldn't change it for the world. And I just learned a lot of things along the way. I, do a little bit of mechanics and stuff like that. I just like working with my hands, and I kind of feel like he led me to the construction trade, and once I picked it up and I was enjoying it, I didn't stop, kept it going.
That's
So,
all. That's awesome. Your dad's still around today?
oh yeah, yeah.
Cool.
So
And is
me
he
and
still?
him still work together. So,
Oh, cool. Day to day. That must great. So, what's that relationship like? What's the dynamic between you and your dad? Like, if my son was on site with me, I'd be ripping him all day. And he probably would never want to be on site with me, because and you're hardest on the people that you care the most about, I think.
yeah,
And maybe that's just how I am, but I noticed, like, my son was helping me sweep on site when they were cleaning up something, and I was like, no, like, that's not how you push the broom. Like, what are you doing? Put your phone away. Get your hands
yeah,
out of your pockets. Don't sit down. And I'm
yeah,
just all over him about all these little, like, small little things. So, like, what's the dynamic? Because he'd be working for you then, on your
yeah,
projects. So
yeah,
does he
essentially,
actually
yeah.
does he listen to you, or does he still do whatever the hell he wants?
Well, as that saying goes, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, and he's still old school in a lot of different ways, but he sometimes listens to me, and sometimes be like, I won't try it that way, and if it goes smoothly, he'd be like, fuck, I wish I would have known this 20 years ago, like, he's like, well, you gotta
Yes.
be open.
Yeah,
So,
so you're
and then,
teaching
and
you're teaching the dad the old dog new tricks. That's awesome.
yeah,
What were you gonna
sometimes,
say?
and then other times he'll be telling you like, "Fuck off! I've been doing this for 40 years," and you know what I mean, like just shit like that. Like I always tell people, I grew up in that era of like, if you didn't listen, they'd throw a hammer at you or tell you you're a fucking idiot or whatever, and you just,
Yeah.
keep working and get off your phone or do this or do that, or you fuck up something, well then you're gonna redo it again, and don't be an idiot and whatever. Like that's how it was back then, right? But now it's not like that.
What an incredible experience. I always believe that you're the most fortunate to work with the people that you care the most about.
Yeah.
And, for you to be able to grow your business, for your dad to be able to work with you, he probably just fucking loves it. Like, whenever
Oh
there's
yeah.
a great job that comes up, he's probably just like, this is fucking cool. My dad wasn't in my life, and so I don't really know what that dynamic experience looks like. So I just envision trying to create that experience for my son. So I'm working in reverse of how you're working with your dad right now. But if I was working with my son, it'd be fucking cool. Like, I'd be pretty proud, pretty pumped to be a part of, that experience, that journey with them. And so, getting these cool little projects for him is probably just like, what are we doing today?
Yeah.
But
Well,
really inside, he's probably super excited, super happy for you.
Yeah, like
Um,
me and my dad have been working together since I was like 10 years old, like I said. And my way of hanging out with my old man was to go to work with him and whatever. So when I get off school, I tell my mom, drive me to dad's work. I'm gonna go and work with dad. And I get there at 4:30 and come home at 10 o'clock at night, eat something, shower, go to sleep, wake up, and do it all over again, and do that 7 days a week. And like my teachers would always be like, "You're not doing your homework," and I'm like, "Well, I'm going out there and working with my old man. Like, fuck off." Like, you know what I mean?
yeah.
So, stuff like that, right? And then it's like, I'm fortunate enough that I learned a lot, and I always bought my own vehicles and sleds and toys and whatever. And mommy and daddy didn't pay for it; I paid for it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
just
Well,
it
because
makes
you use the skills that you learned. I think that's the problem with school. My son, he really wants to get into the trades.
yeah,
He's all amped about being a welder. So there's this school called CRT, where we are, and so basically it's shop classes, and he learns about mechanics, learns about welding, learns about carpentry, and he's doing really good. Obviously, he should. Like if he's my son, I mean, the expectation's pretty fucking high. If I'm not, if
yeah,
I'm not lying, and he knows the expectation's pretty high. The cool part is he came home the other day, and I don't know how to weld at all. Like I don't know a fucking thing on how to weld. And he comes
yeah,
home, he's like, "Hey, check out this thing I built. This is triangle, super cool triangle, and it looks like very well, like very." Like I know, I would assume I can kind of look at a weld and say, "Oh, that looks to be like a pretty good weld,"
yeah. It doesn't
and
look like bird
and
shit. You know what I mean?
it didn't look like bird shit. It was all clean. It was, it seemed like it was flowing really nice. And I was like, "Did you do this?" And he's like, "Yeah, I did this today. I just learned how to weld today." And I was like,
Mhm.
"Fuck, I've never known how to do that my whole life." And so I'm
Yeah,
just
like
sitting there, just like magically impressed. And he's like, "Yeah, we're learning how to do TIG welding tomorrow." And so, like, from a flip side of your experience with your dad and what I'm experiencing with my son, it's like he's learning something that I've never learned, which is super cool, and wants to jump into the trade. So I think his schoolwork, I put a lot of pressure on him with school to get his shit done. His mom's just like, let's make sure his grades are good and whatever. I'm just like, fuck, just give the kid like some breathing room here, because at the end of the day, school is this unique anomaly that is not designed for everyone. And
no.
sometimes it just doesn't work.
I find that school is made for employees, not entrepreneurs, right? They don't teach you how to open your own business and get you on your own and stuff like that. It's more like, you know, you gotta follow the rules here, like you would at a workplace, or stuff like that. So
Right. No, and that's a great way to look at it. And I like school's important. Learning how to read, math, all those things are important. But I think that it can be taught in a way that the kid can digest it. And I think everybody learns a little bit differently. And I'm working on something that's super special to me because I fucking hated school. If I'm being completely honest, like absolutely
me
hated
too.
it. I
Me
didn't
too.
like some of my teachers. Some of them, like one of my teachers, smelled like cat piss. It was just a weird experience. And so I feel for my son. His
Mhm.
mom, when we're not together, but his mom maybe enjoyed school. I don't know. I didn't, and my son hates it, like despises it. And so when I see him so happy with welding, I'm just like, fuck yeah, you found something that you really like. And so he's super excited. He's going to get a job this summer doing some welding. He's going to make some, like, welders make pretty good money. So he'll make some pretty good
Oh yeah.
cash and he'll learn a trade that I don't know at all, which is weird because I want to be, the guy that's in control, and I'm not going to be in control because I don't know how to do what he's going to do. So he's going to actually teach me things. But the
Yeah.
point is, like, what a cool experience that you got to work with your dad. I've got a really good connection with my son. I'm sure you've got a really good connection with your dad. I think that's awesome that that you're in that position. So you joined the Elite Builder Society. What is it, like 4 months ago, something like that?
Yeah. Something like
Um,
that. Yeah.
you got your dad in your life teaching you all these things. What made you decide to join our community? What was the hinge factor that said, you know what, fuck, I need something like whatever? What was the thing that made you join?
Well, I was in another course before and whatnot, and it was okay. But then they were in America, and looking for something Canadian essentially, and somebody that I can work with one on one, rather than be in like a classroom setting with one person. So you'd have a phone call with one coach with 30 other people, and sometimes stuff comes up and you don't necessarily want to talk about it in front of 30 other people or whatever the case may be. So when I reached out to you and I said, is this one-on-one or is this one with 30, 40 other people? And you said, no, it's one-on-one. I'm like, okay, done. That's what I like, want. So, and it's been
Hmm.
awesome so far and learning a lot. And
So it was the one-on-one for you that was the hinge factor. The other program, what was the other program called that you were in?
the contractor fight.
Okay, yeah. And so I've never been in I don't know anything about the contractor fights program, or anything like that. I'm not going to say anything bad about it. I know that they do a lot of great things. Anybody that is in the space to help advance people in construction, I think is incredible. So I think that's super warranted, and needed. But yeah, our focus definitely is the one-on-one stuff, and I'm glad that you really enjoy that. We do really try to give you personalized experience so that you can feel comfortable. You and I have talked about a lot of things, work, personal, everything in between. And the goal is to just win projects. And so, this project that you're working on at the cabin, you and I work very closely on that. And so, do you feel that gave you an upper edge, entering to this project, like with the cabin?
Yeah, because there's different scenarios that I had to run by you, and there's things that I've never done. Like I've never done day rates and how to project that to customers, or I've never done a cost plus or whatever because I didn't know what that was. You always, give me a solid number and hope for the best type of thing, right? And then you don't know, am I making money? Am I losing money? Am I not bidding high enough? Like, stuff like that. So having that one-on-one or texting you or calling you at any time, it's like, hey, I got this problem that I need a hand with, and you're like, let's fucking go, let's do it. Like that's just what you need, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think a lot of contractors don't know their numbers because they're not trained, with understanding the science behind it. There's a recipe to making a cake.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a recipe to any project that you're working on as well. It's no different. It's just really when you understand the ingredients, and you already know how to do this shit. It's not that we have to teach you how to do it. It's just that you have to understand how to manage your time and then also how to make money. Because like this job that you're doing, the last thing you want to do is take the month of May to work for fucking free.
Yeah,
You want to actually make money. This is a bigger project for you. You're a smaller company, and it gives you the opportunity to kind of to grow. You've got some other projects coming up. You got a couple decks. Anything else coming up that you see on the horizon, for projects that we have to focus on or consider?
I have two bathrooms. I got a quote out in Victoria Beach again, or not again, but now they came in yesterday or the day before. Got soffits and fascia in Winnipeg. I've got just a bunch of stuff coming in on the docket, and I'm just trying to do a lot more networking and whatnot, bringing in more projects and working with other people, stuff like that. So.
And you do a lot of the work yourself, correct?
Yeah. Like, oh, sub out, like,
Yeah,
your
you have
major electrical or major plumbing, or if you're changing a tap, well, that's easy to do. You know what I mean? But I won't fuck with the panels and stuff because I'm known to make fireworks, and I ain't about that life. So,
right. So let me ask you this: you're talking about moving to Alberta. You got a really good relationship, Alberta or BC. I just say Alberta because
yeah,
I'm more into Alberta than BC. Less rain.
yeah.
But you work with your dad all the time. Is that really something you want to do?
Yeah.
Like, is that really something you want to do? Do you?
It is like I want something new and something bigger and something more out of my comfort zone because I know everybody in the dog here and it's just like I have a lot of connections, a lot of everything here, and it's just like I would like to go try it somewhere else and see, right? And the old man might even come with me, like one of his daughters is out there, and he might be like, hey, you know
Okay,
what, I'll come,
cool.
I'll come with you, you know what I mean? Or he'll say, can't do that because my grandma's here and you might not want to leave. So it's one of those things like, do I keep everything running out here for him to continue on and make money and do what he's got to do, and I go out there and take over out there, or it's like one of those things I got to figure out and talk to him and see
Hmm.
what he would like to do.
I think a lot of people, I'm making the move to Alberta here, but my family's here, and I got to do it for my kids. I got to
Yeah,
do it for my kids. They need a bigger, better experience, and however that shakes out, however that plays out, I just got to do it. And it's cool that you've got that experience. And if there's a way that you can convince your dad to say, hey, let's go do this. Like, let's go do this out here. I think
Yeah,
extend that experience with them. I think that's really important to you. And I think it will be forever really important to you. No different than that customer of yours renovating her grandfather's cabin and
yeah,
keeping it the way it was, because of memories, right? Working with your dad will be a forever lasting memory in your life. And I think you want to try to extend that experience as long as you can.
yeah. Like, see, my dad, he might be old school, but there's a lot of things that he's seen. Like, for example, commercial doors. We've had Creative Door outside of Winnipeg and Alberta, and they had came to us a long time ago when my cousin's husband was running the place out here in Winnipeg, and he's like, "Hey, we want to do a commercial man door division, but we have nobody to do them. I got like 200 doors I need done." So he would call us, and we would go down there. We'd take a look at these doors, and these companies are like, "Well, every person that comes down here says this door can't be taken out. It's concreted in, and you ain't gonna get that fucking thing out." My dad's like, "I'll have this bitch done in 4 hours." You know what I mean? And sure enough, it was like 4 hours later, he got the door, and they're like, "What the fuck? How did you do that?" And he's like, "Well, it's just because I know how it's done. I've built." Buildings like this, and I've seen how it's been done. So that's kind of another thing that is beneficial because he's seen back in the 50s and the 60s and 70s and stuff like that on how things were built back then. He was born in the 60s, but he still got to see the era of how things were built then, and then
Right.
bring it now. So it's like, 30, 40, 50, 60 years later, he's going, "Oh, I know how they did that back in the day because I grew up around this shit." You know what I mean? And then people are just
Yeah.
mind blown when we come in and take apart something and rebuild it right away and whatever. And they're like, we've had like four of the contractors in here, and they said it's next to impossible. You can't do this. And it's like, here we are. We're just hammering these bricks out and get done. And everybody's happy, right? So, and that's another reason why if I go to Calgary, for example, well, they have a creative door division there that we could take all their man doors.
What an incredible experience for you to have with your dad. I don't know if you like understand how special that really is. Like, generally, when we're caught in the moment, we just don't see what we've got. You got a great experience there with your dad, and I think you
Yeah.
really got to continue on with that. If you are moving to Calgary, talk to him. If he's willing to go with you, take him with you.
Oh yeah.
Calgary's
Uh,
booming right now, and will be booming with everybody from Ontario moving that way. But
yeah.
what a cool
The
experience for sure.
the other thing is too that before joining any type of courses and stuff like that, like this one or the other one, everybody used to ask me, "Oh, do you have a crew?" I'm like, "Yeah, I work with my dad. We're like a father-son team," and they just love that because they're like that you can work with your dad and you guys can get along and work together. Like that's a big thing. They're like you don't see that very often nowadays, where father and son work together. You know. They pound shit out and fucking get this done, that done, the next thing, and whatever, and they're not scrapping on site, or you know what I mean? Like it's just we have a good time and we shoot the
Yeah.
shit, and and we build shit together, and it's like then they're like essentially like kind of feel like I'm hiring a father son team, and that's how I used to get a lot of jobs too, because a lot of people wouldn't work with their dad or whatever. So I felt like sometimes I would
Yeah.
get the advantage of everybody else because of that.
That's awesome. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little jealous. My dad wasn't in my life, and so I didn't get that experience. And so I'm trying to create it with my son. But I mean, do you have plans? Would you like to have a little boy at some point in your life that you could kind of do the same thing with?
I would like to, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool. I love that you're getting that experience with your dad, and I really want you to hyper focus on it because it's special. Time flies. Life is so important, and to have that experience will be great for his soul and for yours. So I love that you get to have that, and And we learned something more about you today, which is super cool. I love that.
My
No,
old
go ahead.
man, he had nothing to essentially retire with. So when I started my business, I said, "You give me fucking 10 years, I'll have you retired. I'll have your house paid. I'll have you and mom doing what you have to do and go enjoy life." And I said, "You give me 10 years, I'll promise you, I'll have you retired." And I'm almost, I shouldn't say I'm almost there, but I'm essentially getting there. Building with you and stuff like that, and I'll get
Yeah.
to that point where I can just go up to him and say, here's the 300K, pay off a fucking house, here's the cars you need, make sure mom gets to the doctor's appointments and shit like that, and you don't have to worry about it. Go enjoy time in Mexico and fuck, go enjoy your life, like that's essentially where I'm trying to get to,
Yeah.
and that's like essentially my higher why, I guess you can say, and I appreciate him for teaching me everything he taught me and putting the hearing aids in my ears and shit like that and struggling to get by to do those type of things for me, you know what I mean? So it's my turn to return the favor, essentially.
Yeah, that's amazing. What a great story. I really appreciate that you shared all of this with me and everyone. And so, we've had our working relationship focused on like getting jobs and doing all this stuff and like, advancing your business, getting you to post more frequent content, getting you to just do things to run a successful construction company. But we never really got into the nitty gritty about, your family and where you started and what the mission is. And it gives me more motivation now too when we're working together, knowing that there's this amplified higher goal of helping your family win, and that's really what we're focused about inside the community is getting those wins. Each and every week we have those weekly check-ins, and they're fucking motivation, man. Like
Oh, yeah.
you've posted a couple in there yourself, and you see the other people posting their wins in there, and that's really what it's about. It's like, you want to grow a construction company, we're not doing this just for fun. We're doing it because we want to make money. We want to make money as a business, and I'm grateful that you chose us after all these other options that are available to kind of advance your business. And so I'm thankful that you chose us, and I'm thankful that you gave us this time together to talk about you, your business, and your family. Jory, I love working with you. I think it's a great experience every time. I know that you're always there to get shit done. You're not there to fuck around. And so I appreciate that about you, and I appreciate your time today. Is there anything else you want to close out on? Share with the audience, the new audience. This is our sixth podcast. We finally named it. So you got to be, the cool part is you're on it the first time when we named it. And so Onsite is talking about, the projects that you're on site. That's kind of where the storyline comes behind it. Our last conversation was with, I think it was with Steve. And we're talking about his projects that he's working on in New York. And we've got a couple other people from the community and some other educators coming up. But, I thought this was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. Is there anything you want to kind of close out on and kind of share with anybody in the community?
Not really, besides, like, I
Silence.
appreciate all your heart. I appreciate all your hard work and everything, and dedicate to the community. And it's nice to see, you know what I mean? Because, like I said before, I've been a part of another group, and it was never like this, and it's totally different and game changing. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. And I appreciate that, and you're very welcome. I was in a different position of life, just like a lot of different contractors, when I got into this industry almost 2 decades ago. And it's fucking hard when you're alone and you
Hmm.
have problems and you have nobody to talk to. You're not going to go to your dad and say, "Hey, Dad, I don't know how to get I don't know how to get my next job, or I don't know how to make sure I'm profitable, or I don't know, how to estimate this job. I don't know why we lost this project." I wanted to create a space where you could resolve those challenges, and it's awesome to see the results with you and these projects that are coming up. And dude, we're just getting started, so I'm
Oh yeah.
excited to work with you. If you progress to Alberta, and whenever you progress to Alberta, we'll help you with that transition as well. But I appreciate your time today, and so that's all for today.
So good.
Next episode will be coming up next week. I think we're going to be doing another customer from the
Q&A.
community. So looking forward to that. Appreciate your time, Jory, today. If people want to follow along with your projects, where would they find you on Instagram? What's your handle?
Flawless restoration.
There we go. We got it right there. So if you want to follow Jory and his projects, he's going to be more active with his content because he's not active enough. He's going to be more active. You can give him a follow right there. So I appreciate you, Jory, today. And thanks for everybody for listening. Tune in next week, and we'll go from there. Cheers. Thanks.